Hey, it's Zoe. I'm going to be explaining my iteration for my game, Price RPG. So there's a few things that I added from other iterations that I wanted to fix up based off of my critiques and really get down on like a spreadsheet how I want everything to look. So first, I'm going to show you the spreadsheet explaining the character creation process. A little briefer because I went a lot more in depth in my other videos if you want to check those out. But I'm going to mostly show you what I've added and how the player and the DM will work through the character creation to set up their game. And once they've set up their game, they will be able to set up their map, and I will show you that creation process right after.
I just want to clarify really quickly before we get started that in these iterations, I am working towards a final product that I can post on Kickstarter that will be a digestible introduction to how a player will go through my game. And though I am reiterating information from past iterations of my game, it is not recycled information. I am constantly working on it to refine it and make it more digestible, like I said. And working out the kinks of how this story will be played out based off of my feedback.
Thank you. Enjoy.
Okay, so because I have previously gone over this in my video iteration 2 of characters sheet, you can look back at that for a greater detail of this sheet, but for now, I'm basically just going to go over this A, B, C, D tier that you see up at the top. So here's the table that the DM will reference for family, skills, assets, and perks, and what kind of attributes you get based off of how you rank them. I'll give you a quick second to look over that. So now we're going to focus on the kind of magic that you get based off of where you rank those. So some quick examples, if you rank family high, you'll get social magic because that's relevant to your status. If you rank skills very high, you'll get a magical item or utility magic that will help you in your skills. Assets, which are money attributes, will help you with wealth and other kinds of magic under that aspect. And then perks can be a lot of things. It can be social, divination, combat magic. It really depends up on how you design your character. Alright, and now I'll be giving an in-depth description on the randomized aspect of my game that I discussed in my past iteration. So the magic giver is who will be randomized. The 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 will be correlated to the number that you roll on your dice, 1 being the best source of magic you can get, 5 being the worst. So you can see it goes from angel to giant, magical animal, genie, and witch. So to give players advantages and disadvantages from these randomizations, I have decided to add a benefits column. So depending on how good of a source that the player rolls, they will get added skill points, asset points, or perk points to their character sheet to improve upon their character that will put them a leg above everyone else. I also added some brief descriptions of how these magical beings will be perceived in this world. This is subject to change as we develop the story a little bit more. I'm actually using a little bit of knowledge that I have of the Middle Ages for what I'm ranking as the best source of magic and the worst. So in Middle Age times, I know that witches were kind of seen as bad heretic magic givers. It was demons magic, it was not respected in that society, and angel magic or kind of godly magic was seen as something fated and honorable and something that you would see in that kind of Bible setting. So that's what I wanted to base those two creatures on, but they definitely can change as we go on. Alright, so let's go through how a DM would go about map creation and quest creation. So right here I have a little layout on the requirements that the DM will need to look over before creating their individual quests, towns, or enemies, just so they will have a little bit of guidance on their journey in making. So I'm going to go through some of the requirements and my thought process behind them. So starting with quest 1, I want the player to be able to find their own personal goals based off of their character sheet. I want that randomized option to really be the driving point that creates their relationships with other players and their relationships with themselves. I hope this ties into quest 3, which is where the player will find closure in their journey. Additionally, the player will run into many enemies on their journey to build up their powers. These enemies do not have to be anything in particular, or at least not at the moment. You just have to start out with lower enemies as you're starting your game as to not overwhelm your player, and you can work up to higher enemies from there. As for side quests, the player may participate in any amount of side quests that the DM allows them, and these quests will help the player build up their skill and asset points to give them better armor and better skills as they go along to prepare them for their final journey. So there will be little town safe havens on the player's journey that will be an area for them to grow and learn about themselves, different side stories with other players that are going along their own journeys, and be areas where they can maybe collect items like food or weapons with the money that they have gained. Alright, so here is an example of a map that was made under that table's criteria. This very obviously does not have to be very complicated. Not everyone is making really detailed designs. It's not always everyone's forte or focus of the game, so it definitely does not have to be complicated. So in this very simple example, I have a little town at the top that can be used as a side quest. I represented the side quests with little dots and the main journey with the hashed line. So I marked little X's of where each quest will take place, and kind of little visuals of what would happen there, like going to the Wizard Tower, Moor Tower, going to Jade Village, or having a big face-off at quest 3. So any DM can adhere to this example, but I encourage you to kind of work outside of your comfort zone. This is definitely just a very basic example. So this is the end of iteration 6 of my game. Thank you for watching, and I will definitely be back for another iteration next week. Goodbye!